enjoy the show, play on Walljangers.
There he is, because it didn't matter how few words that he actually said, because you could tell a whole bunch just from a slight little head nod or tilt at the right moment. So that's that kind of level to where the indie market really kind of feeds off each other. Everybody is very loving and very supportive from what I've seen. And our guest tonight, I mean, fits right along that same vein, Mike. I mean, if I would say.
I mean, how could you not say? I mean, it's a guy who starts a website to compete with some of the biggest crowdfunders out there. It's admirable.
Just for comics. Well, and then I say that, but then I look at the end. Graphic novels of all ages, graphic novels mature, manga all ages, manga mature, books, magazines, tabletop RPGs, board games, video games. Is there anything you aren't going to fund?
Well, truthfully, no. Because if you notice the link at the top, we've added a sister site called Fundiverse.com, which will
I'm scrolling
pretty much
past,
handle everything else.
I'm sorry, I'm scrolling past all these rows and rows and rows of amazing looking comics and stuff that I have to go all the way up to the top. Yeah, I mean, Fundiverse. People, especially with what we heard when we were interviewing Richard Dury of the Heroic Awards, that he alone said he probably funded like 60 comics last year just off of Kickstarter. And now you have this website that people can go to if you want to sponsor any of the stuff I just rattled off. Yes, right here, this is where you got to go. Fundmycomics.com. Everything else is linked in there. I was checking it out. It's an amazing site. And I don't know why, but I'm still always impressed by the different kinds of things that people in the indie industry have used to their advantage on the internet. Especially when you look at shit, man, Elon Musk started PayPal, That was all early internet. And now we're in this. And now, especially when you're looking at Kickstarter, you're looking at all these websites that people go to immediately. They started off as something like this. And it was just a good idea. How did you come to this good idea?
Well, I think it was a little bit out of necessity and a little bit out of sheer annoyance. So I was, I don't know how much of my story you guys know, but I got sick in 2021 with the vid, and I was in the hospital for 5 months, and I was in a coma for 5.5 weeks, lost 85 pounds, literally had to relearn how to do everything. In fact, that's why my voice sounds the way it does now, like that smooth jazz radio voice.
I was going to say that.
This is not original. This is aftermarket.
Okay.
So
I love that. That's perfect.
Yeah, this is a product of vocal paralysis after being on a vent for 5.5 weeks. So,
and the fact you can joke about it is in such an expert level. We love onion layers around here. That was a chef's kiss. Perfect.
It is what it is. The alternative would be, I guess, I'd be pushing up daisies right now. So I'm not too upset by kind of where I'm at, but it created this opportunity. So I was pastoring full time. And as you can imagine, the church probably didn't do so well while I was gone, right? I came back, I realized that a lot of the congregation had found new homes. And it was going to take a lot of energy to kind of rebuild things. And I didn't really have enough energy to recover myself. So I talked with the remaining board members. We decided we were going to dissolve that ministry. And in the process, I knew I had to figure out some kind of way to make money. And the only thing I could still do, I couldn't play guitar anymore, couldn't sing anymore, could barely walk. I couldn't go definitely clock in anywhere. I didn't have the energy to preach every week and try to go back into pastoring. So I thought I had a couple people that were paying me to do some work. Well, I'll just focus on that for a little bit. And in the process, I started looking at the pink site and the green site, respectively, Indiegogo and Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
And I started noticing that, people were getting banned or rejected based on opinions and things that I just, I don't care if you agree with me or not. I think everyone's entitled to their First Amendment right to speak their mind.
Yes.
And I'm entitled to disagree with you, right? And,
Yeah.
and vice versa. And so
It's why they literally wrote it the way they did.
yeah,
So nobody can undermine that. You have the right to disagree.
Exactly. And I see these companies that are they've kind of transcended private companies. They're there to help creators create, really. And people are getting their money jockeyed around. People are getting canceled at the last second on things. And I thought, dude, I just want to make comic books that left the hell alone. So I think I'm going to try to figure out how to do my own crowdfunding. And so that was my goal. I was like, how can I crowdfund on my own? Because I know that if anyone ever went back, listened to any of my conservative pastor sermons, I'm getting canceled, right? I'm like, I know. I'm like, yeah. I have a very biblical view on marriage and sexuality. I'm unapologetic about that. And I know that, at some point, someone's going to be like, you know what? We've run out of people to cancel. Let's go after Luke. So I was like, I need to find a way to be uncancelable. And so that was my goal, is to establish a way for me to be able to do it. In the process, I found I'm not a developer. I'm an artist. I'm a writer. I'm a communicator, an orator. That's what I do. And I knew that in order for this to work, I needed to find someone that needed to find somebody or some team that this is what they did. And so I started looking around into this white label thing. So I started learning about, like white label coffees and things like that. How there's this other company that does this, and they will sell their product to you at a cost, and then you slap your name on it. And I go, I kind of like that, Let's make someone a part of my team. And so I started looking around for these companies that had an infrastructure that they were using primarily for corporate, because I knew that they did this. I knew that businesses and companies would run crowdfunding campaigns for their special interest things. And I knew that they got that infrastructure from somebody. And so I started looking, on that side of things, like, corporate crowdfunding and stuff like that. And I ran across 3 or 4 different companies that did this, tested all of them out. One of them, I actually really liked the core kind of stuff they did. I talked with the owner of the company, talked with another representative over there. And they said, we can pretty much build out exactly what you want, starting from this kind of core bit of code that we have. We can handle your hosting. We'll set you up on private servers. They started going through the whole, because I was like, security is going to be a big deal for me or whatever. And I started looking at like where I was going with this, and I tested it out, liked it. And I realized that I could have multiple campaigns running. They said, you realize this is more than just your website. Like, this is a platform, right? You can have as many people as you want. I said, I didn't really quite know that. I guess I wasn't thinking in those terms. They said, so yeah, if any of your friends want to use it, feel free or whatever. And so I started talking to my buddies and like, hey, if you get canceled, I got you covered. Got your backs right here. And it was just Luke Stone's crowdfunding something, whatever. It had nothing, nothing special to it. And then this group of friends that I have, kind of like a little think tank that gets together, and they said, with all this going on, you really should think about using this for other people. I said, look, I'm really building these tools out just for me, for comic book stuff, what I want. It's not going to run the same way as Pink and Green. I'm going to do things a little differently. And people seem to be pretty solid on those. I don't want to just make an alternative for people that, get canceled or whatever. It's a lot of work. Open it up to you guys. You're my friends. It's one thing, but going to the general public, I got to get lawyers involved. I've got to have all the proper documentation. That creates a whole other level of this thing. And
oh yeah.
And they wound up kind of convincing me. And one of my friends, he said, who is in web development, he said, if you decide to do this, I'll put up money with you. And he knew that I had some severance that I was going to be investing in this to kind of secure something for me to be able to continue to crowdfund.
Yeah.
and draw, and while I'm doing commissions and stuff, and not get canceled, you know. And from there, you know, the good idea just kept growing, and people kind of demanded it. So we got lawyers, accountants to look at everything, set up all of our paperwork, and we still didn't have a name. Like, I didn't know what we were going to call it. And another friend of mine said, man, it's a real shame that Fund My Comic isn't available. And as he's saying it, I'm, you know, on my phone looking, I'm like, well, it isn't anymore. He goes, oh, what? I go, I just bought it. I said it was available. I said, thank you. That was a great name. That was a great name, because it's exactly what we do. You know, it's like Fund My Comic, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, everything that this is, it's because of really creative, talented, and generous people around me that encouraged me to kind of step out and do it. And so it really is a crowdfunding platform for comic creators by comic creators, because everyone that was involved is in some way, shape, or form involved with one of the publishing efforts that I have. So yeah.
Well, that's a good thing. You're building everybody else up around you. And that's what we do here at Exchanginging and Walljangers. It's one of our cornerstones in our company, is that we believe that our company is a soapbox. Our platform is there for people to, you got something to say? It's right here. And it's along the same lines that you're doing, because you're giving people the opportunity to get their dream funded. And it's not something that, I think it's something that's easy to brush aside. Like, oh, yeah, I just did this. But you're giving people hope. And that's the one thing that I love to point out when people are doing great works like you, is that it came out of a dark time and you found a way to push yourself through it, to find a way to make yourself better. And through that, you may not have intended to help other people, but that's generally a good idea, is when you're just thinking like, how can I make this work for me? And then other people saying, well, you know, that guy could use that. Now you see a market and you're like, oh, this can work.
Yeah,
you know, there's that kind of 1 to 2 to 3. You have to build up to where you get to.
Yeah, that was definitely part of the process. Before we invested a lot of money into this, because we had a lot of development that we wanted to do before we launched. And so before we invested the money into it, I wanted to do some research and see if it was even viable, like if it was even something that people would want. And so we did a lot of surveying the comics community, and people were wanting it. You know, people said that they wanted something like this. Todd and I are both men of God, so we knew in order for us to keep a free speech platform for ourselves, we had to make it free speech for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, we go by constitutional rights instead of, what we like or think. So it's, if it's not breaking the law, then it's okay to have it up there. We do ask that everyone keep their campaigns safe for work, so that YouTubers and podcasters can go to the site and just show whatever's up there without fear of anything that's going to get them struck. And everyone's been playing along really, really well with that.
Nice.
And I started to see, like, my big question was, we're gonna be fighting the traffic question. That's the traffic issue is always going to be a problem, because the other sites have had years to develop branding and awareness. And, we've only been open for just over a year. March 17th was our 1-year anniversary. I don't know if you know that or not.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. I
mean, so we here at Exchanginging and Walljangers, we're going on 6 years. So I respect young companies, because I was there. I started this company with Chris after I had another podcast company fail, because me and my friend fell out. So I went through that first year of having to try to, like, I already did this. What am I doing? I trying to figure out all the subtle intricacies of something that can be something bigger. Recently, we already announced we acquired Comics and Pop-Tarts with Michael right above me. And we're continuing to do a lot of great things. But that's the thing I see of what you're doing, is you branch out, and just like me, Tales of the Hunted, this podcast, Frank and I just stumbled into it. We knew Aleem knew Mike. Mike and everybody, and Josh Shockley, all my guests have been making this podcast a podcast hub for indie content creators. It's not something I planned, but much like you're saying, I realized that when you see a good idea rolling out in front of you, it's almost like a red carpet. You just have to keep walking. And the people around you will help build everything up because they see this is a great idea. Fund my comic. I can put my comic on there and other people who you show the numbers right on there. You're not Netflixing it up. It's right. It's right there. All the information you would need to do, you would need as to legitimately want to invest in a comic is right there on the thumbnail.
Pretty much, yeah.
I don't have to look any further. You got a good thumbnail. It sounds cool. Look at that money. This is happening, son.
We first tried to do this thing where the video would play on the thumbnails, and it looks great.
Yeah.
But it slows down the site terribly. And as soon as if your screen is up there for too long, once the video is done, it goes to whatever your YouTube suggestions are. So it's a bunch of your YouTube suggestions on there. And we're like, we can't do this. This is stupid. We can't do this. So we wound up taking that off. We really loved the idea, but it wasn't working out. So we've adapted a lot over, as we've gone. But one of the things that, I was really concerned about, like I was saying, was traffic. And so we started doing some market research. I've ran probably 25, 30 campaigns before Fund My Comic, so on my own. I started crowdfunding comic books in 2016. And I started going back through all of them and looking at like what percentage I brought to the campaigns versus what percentage the platform brought, by, kind of organic traffic. And you know what I found out? I found out that they were lying about how much traffic they were bringing them, that they were bringing to me.
Really?
Yeah. And so here's where I found out. So number one, I had a campaign that was shadow banned, that was indexed not searchable on Indiegogo. And yet they said that they had brought in like 12% to my campaign through search.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally not searchable. You type it in the search bar, it won't show up. You have to have a direct link to get there. So how is it searchable? So number one, that wasn't true.
Yeah.
But even if it were true, here's the thing that I noticed. Even if it were true, if I'm on your podcast today, I say, look, I've got a campaign over on Fund My Comic right now. Under Arrow Comics, we are doing the Shadow Kingdom. We're just about to break 10K on that. It's got Russ Leach, a legend in the Marvel and DC universe. It's got Randy Zimmerman, a icon of indie comics, has been publishing since 1983. These are guys who love the industry, who know what they're doing. Go over there right now. If I don't give you the link, but it's on fundmycomic.com.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the Shadow Kingdom. And you go over there and you type in the search bar, the Shadow Kingdom, and you go to it and you back it. That was me bringing traffic to the campaign that I'm promoting, right?
Mm-hmm.
The websites, the other two websites, are taking credit for that.
Oh, wow.
And the percentage of what they say they brought to your campaign, search, which is exactly that. Someone typed your campaign name into the search bar. They're taking credit for that.
Wow.
So 70 to 90%, closer to 80, 85%.
Yeah.
But because of, I like to give a nice big cushion window, just for argument's sake, 70, 90% of the campaign traffic that you're bringing to your campaign by yourself. So I thought, why the heck are we giving them 5% of our money?
Yeah.
That's hard-earned money. How can I keep more money in the creators' pockets? So the first thing we did was lower the platform fee. So we do 3% instead of 5% for the platform fee. Can't do anything about the bank fees. The other thing that I didn't like is that, if you're running a keep it all, like, or a what they call a flex goal, like you're going to make this comic book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you need that money to start making or to produce that book to keep ahead of the schedule, then it just doesn't make sense for me to have to wait not only till the end of the campaign, 30 or 60 days, which is what I'm buckled into, whether I want 30 or 60 or not, right? What if I want 190 days? 120 days, something like that.
Yeah.
I should be able to decide because it's my business and my comic. I should be able to figure out the business model that I want for that and run my campaign for the distance that I want.
Yeah.
So, but not only that, now I have to wait till the end of the 30 or 60 days to get that money. And I'm not even guaranteed that I'm going to get that money because trust and safety might find something wrong or offensive with something on my page, decide to hold my money for months. But here's the reason why that happens. I know that one guy had his money held for over a month. Now, during that time, that large sum of money was sitting in their bank account, drawing interest for their bank, and then they distribute it to his bank account.
Mm.
Well, I said, we're not going to do that. We're going to set this up a lot like Lyft or Uber. And basically, you create a Connect account that goes through Stripe. Everybody trusts Stripe. That goes directly to our platform. And so when the money comes in, boom, platform fee gets taken off, and it goes into an escrow set aside for you that starts to disperse within 5 days. So you start getting money right away.
Wow.
It's your money. It's just like if you were running a campaign from your own website.
You made your own JG Wenworth, motherfucker. Like, it's my money and I need it now.
Right, exactly. So,
well, JG Wenworth doesn't exactly believe that. Okay, like if you listen to what Luke just said, like,
no, they don't. But it was a catchy phrase line for the ad.
Oh no, I get where you're going with. I wish a lot more business-minded people
no
that way.
Everybody remembers that commercial, though. Everybody,
right?
all 70 of them.
That marketing team did a great job.
I think it's admirable, though, the way you set it up to think about the creator from the creator's perspective. As they say that all great men are born from bad times, and not only did you not allow yourself to become bitter about your situation, to where you illuminated all those around you, and by having faith in the collaborators that build this, you were allowed to go forward and illuminate other creators as well. That's pretty amazing. And you've done it through all this muck and stuff, like you said, the Kickstarter, and Indiegogo and other platforms out there who take credit for the traffic that us indie creators bring to the platform. Because I've kickstarted my book, I was not happy with that 5%.
Look, you guys are working so hard. You guys are working so hard out there. I know because I do it. We didn't want to do 3%. We initially wanted to do 2%, but the cost of all the things that we were going to do, 3% was the only way that we could initially do it. So one of the things that we have added now to the site is if you run the first 30 days of your campaign exclusive on Fund My Comic, you can run anywhere else after that you want. But if you run at least the first 30 days, we'll drop it down to 2% platform fee. The reason why is because we want to encourage you. We want to encourage everybody to keep the majority of your 70-90% of your audience. They will follow you anywhere. They're there for you. They're not there for pink or green. Yeah. They're there for you. They're not even there for Fund My Comic. They're there for you.
That's a really great point.
Right?
It's a great point.
Take advantage of them following you to this platform so that you can keep a lot more of your own money in your own pocket. Now we do a tip, okay? We have the tip feature, but we don't sneak it in like pink. It's right there. It's 0 to start with. You have to choose and you have to say yes or no in order to move past that. But when you tip a campaign on our platform, it sends that campaign to the front page. So the more tips they get, the higher it goes, the deeper those pockets go, the longer it stays there. So it's capitalism at its best. And that money that's raised actually goes to help improve the website. So it's how we pay for upgrades.
I really like that. And Mike, I know you probably have the same thought as me. So you cover Aleem, I'll cover Frank. We're now going to have them go exclusively to Fund My Comic because we know so many, especially just through Tales. I want to tell everyone. They'll probably watch this. They will watch this podcast when I put it out. I want to let them know before that because this is a really great idea, especially when you're talking about just 3% instead of 5%. It sounds like 2%. That matters, especially to an indie project, especially when you're looking at somebody like Frank Percy, former Punisher War Journals inker, and Sleepwalker, many different things through Marvel, DC, and even all the other ones. So he has his own comic, Gribe the Hunted, that he's developed, and I'm going to be doing the video for his Kickstarter. But now it may be his my fund my comic. Yeah. It's that kind of thing. Bringing this out to indie developers is going to be huge, because having that extra 2%, having your focus be on them and overall promoting their dream. I'm going to keep saying that because it's what it is. This person has toiled away, and a lot of people are like Aleem. They started off, their art wasn't great. They worked it to this level to where they got into the Elite 8 at the Heroic Awards People's Choice. Upsetting a whole bunch in the indie realm, because here comes this kid out of Delco making it to the Elite 8 with Diarrhea Sweet Pea. And we're definitely going to be saying it to him. I'm going to be saying it to all my indie guests to check your site out, because it matters to that indie developer that there's somebody else out there in the industry. For indie, by indie is a good tagline that they use at the Heroic Awards. But overall, it's that feel of the industry. When you look at the indie comic scene, we're all here. A rising tide raises all ships. We're really all here to help each other.
So we're working on a campaign calculator, basically to help figure out like what's it going to cost, for you. And at the bottom of the once you've calculated your number of books, and say, just for instance, we're doing 500 copies of a 32-page book. We've worked out what our budget is to make the book, what our expenses are for shipping. The calculator breaks it down to total cost for creative, printing, supplies, and then it breaks it down to what you need to crowdfund for. So let's just say you're doing a campaign and you need to raise, say $12,300 or something like that, around $12,000. You're going to have to move that up to about a $1,300, to cover your fees and stuff. But it's going to be different for each platform. So Fund My Comic 30-day exclusive, 2% platform fee plus 3% Stripe. Your total fees for your campaign, you would need to raise $13,000, and it would be $649.47 that you would be paying out in fees. If you do the 3% non-exclusive, your fees are $787.66. So you're going to need to raise that up to $13,200 in order to cover that. Right. If you're on Indiegogo or Kickstarter, their fees, you're going to have to run $13,500 in order to break even, because their fees are over $1,000 for their fees.
Wow.
And so.
Well, I had on Mark McKenna, infamously in the beginning of these tales, and he had on Tales of Balbarath on Kickstarter, on Indiegogo, and it wasn't really moving the way that he wanted. So I got to tell you, as soon as I'm done this podcast, I'm probably going to be messaging Mark McKenna a sentence I never thought I'd say in my life and telling him about your goddamn website, because it's not just indie. It's guys like Mark who want to get their individual project out there, who they will bring more attraction to your site, which is what I want. But also, it's getting their project out there to be like, oh shit, Mark McKenna's on Fund My Comic? Hell yeah.
You have him message me. I'll give him the red carpet service. I really will.
I will, as soon as this podcast is done, because I think it's something that even legends in the comic industry can take advantage of to get their comic in front of the audience that they want.
Well, speaking of legends, Mike Barron and Kelsey Shannon just launched a campaign today.
Surge.
Right? Yeah,
Nexus Surge.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nexus Surge is available on Fund My Comic as well as the other platforms as well. But Fund My Comic, obviously, yeah. And so we've got them on there. I've spoke with, Art T Bear, and, I'm talking with, these guys that are out there. It's expensive to crowdfund no matter how much traffic you bring in.
Mm-hmm.
The campaigns that make $20,000, $30,000, even more, the cost goes up exponentially. What people don't realize is when the government gets their tax portion.
Oh yeah.
Because anything over $5,000 you're supposed to pay taxes on.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of sucks,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, and people, that is a very, very important message. Remember that $5,000 mark, because the government's going to want their money.
Yeah, they are.
They're going to find you. They're going to find it.
They're going to get that money.
Yeah,
they're going to get it. Yeah. So, and I do apologize for all the noise in the background. Everyone's coming home from the cookout.
Understandable, man.
I came back a little early.
There's a lot of noise canceling through Discord that it's like my brother's watching a TV show right next to us this entire podcast, and you can barely probably even tell.
Yeah,
it's this is why I love it when Discord works. I'm watching you, Discord.
Yeah.
But when it works, it is actually beautiful, because it's a lot like, tie it back in here for a segue, Fund My Comics, because I'm looking at this and there's just the thumbnail. I feel was the thumbnail of just that comic is the right way to go, as opposed to the video, because it's tying it more along to the lines of what you want to sell them media wise. You're selling them print; they should be at least sold by a thumbnail of a comic book cover art, or whatever they put up there. So it's smart in that aspect, and like we were talking about with the pledges at the bottom. But right at the forefront, it's the title. Who did it? Now Oh, Kurt Parker, Between Demons and Angels, Volume 1. Oh, I want to check out more from this guy. I want to check out more from John Bua, Heroic Comic Book Tale. I was looking at that one because I like the title, and I was like,
it's John's Long Box. Yeah,
but it's that kind of thing.
Podcast.
Like, I can't help but want to hide my wallet and not look at your site, because I feel like my entire paycheck will just disappear.
I'm never
and a
going to
bunch of
financially
comics.
recover from this. I'm never going to financially recover from this.
It's just I spent way too much money on comics.
I can't make any money because I keep backing all these books. They're just so good. There's so many good books on there. And I mean, you look through and that's what I wanted. I kind of wanted an online comic book store experience where people could just walk through. And I did away with the add-on idea. Rather than that, there's a shopping cart where you can add up to 5 of each reward into the shopping cart and check out. Mm-hmm. And, to make it more like an e-commerce site. There's so many creators that are taking advantage of our storefront. And if you notice, for legal purposes, it's storefront, not storefront.
And I just I just clicked on John's book, and I'll add my scrolling in here in the final podcast. But it's like clicking on a game on Steam. It's like clicking on anything in the normal media that you get online, but it's it feels just like Kickstarter. But actually better. If I'm not being biased by it, because you're on, I'm not blowing you, but it's just the side panels. Choose your reward right here. Nice graphic images. You have all these different comic book covers and images of this person's page. It has the person who wants their idea sold out there. It makes it very easy because they're still used to that Indiegogo Kickstarter platform of getting what they need out there and set up that way. But it's just the way you do it. It looks simple, but it's not simplistic, if that makes sense, because there's so much depth to it.
Yeah, we wanted to be efficient with it. We wanted it to be where it would be the easiest platform to set up a campaign on. Everything is HTML editable, so you can literally just copy and paste your campaign from another platform, drag it over from one browser to the next, pop it in there, all the images populate. The rewards, you can choose to add reward images or not. You can even put in little GIFs if you wanted to, as long as you know how to do the HTML coding for that. But it's all completely editable. That's a hard word to say. Editable.
Editable.
Yeah.
Editable. Yeah. Inevitable.
But we wanted complete freedom with all of that stuff, and you can set your exact start time, so you don't have to worry about hitting a button on time and making it launch. It'll launch at the exact moment you want it to. There's just I wanted to make it easy and stress free.
Yeah.
There's already too much stress in the promoting and the marketing, which we realized so many people were struggling with that. So we've even incorporated that into our Start Here page. So if someone clicks to start here, they're wanting to do a campaign, and maybe they don't really know how to set up a mailing list. Well, we explain how to do that. Maybe they don't understand how to do a pre-campaign launch. What do I need to do with that? Well, here's the steps that you take in order to promote your book before you even go live. Here's where you start, So we try to give all of those tools and all of those resources.
You give them a tutorial?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh my God. Like, it's part of the gaming culture. Like, hey, click here, dummy. This is what you need to do to start it. All right.
Well, I want everybody to win. Look.
Do you have friends? All right. This is how we do this. This is how it's that instant learning. You have to, and it's part of building people up. You being able to just accurately tell someone, look, this is how you can make your idea better. This is how you can make it blow up on this platform. You can get the funding to do it. And guess what? I'm not going to beat you over the head like some other people do. I'm going to give you all the tools you need to succeed and make your idea win. Not a lot of people are going out of their way to give people all the tools like that you are.
Look, I love comic books. I want there to be a lot of great comic books because I'm a collector. I'm a reader. That's what I want to do. I just love reading them. And so I think it's in all of our best interest that everybody be wildly successful, and, I don't have anything against the big two. I don't like the way they've handled some of the characters. I've became, kind of disenfranchised with them. And so I don't buy much of their stuff anymore, but I want them to be healthy because I think a healthy mainstream or corporate comics means healthy indie comics, and healthy indie comics means healthy mainstream comics. And so there's a synergy that's there. And I want everybody that's trying to make a comic to have the tools and resources they need to do it. If they're willing to put in the work, then they should be able to fund their comic.
100%.
Yeah. If all they want to do is create a campaign and sit there and just hope that people will come in and back it, it's not going to happen.
Well, that's the part of showing people how to do it and how to do it successfully that really matters is that, you could be, I got to tell you, I've been podcasting with Frank Percy for, 4 years now. And one of the first podcasts I did with him on the Tales of the Hunted, it was pre-Tales of the Hunted. He did an entire podcast with me and Kat without having his video on at all. I thought, hey, Frank doesn't want to show his face. It's fine. Artists, you know how they can be. But it turns out, no, he just didn't know. Oh, you got to hit that video button there. So there's some of that there to where you can have a brilliant person, a brilliant idea, but they don't know how to execute it and publish it to the masses in the best way. So it gets lost in the sauce.
Yeah. Sometimes what you just need is just a little help, someone to say it or someone to show you what you need to do. And that's why we try to put those tools out there so that people will understand that, to take the mystery out of it. And it's a lot like eating an elephant. Had a great mentor of mine tell me, he said, you know how to eat an elephant? I said, no. He goes, one bite at a time.
That's true.
One bite at a time. And so you don't know where to start, right? So we just try to make eating the elephant a little easier. We show you the easy parts to get to first, the first steps. And then once you kind of get in there chewing, you kind of get an idea about what you want to do next or need to do next.
Yeah.
So, and then if you do get lost, go back to the checklist. Oh, okay. Well, step, I kind of bypassed and found my way through steps 4 through 7.
Mm-hmm.
Step 8, I almost missed that. Let me try that. Maybe that'll help me get a little further down the road with this and be able to kick that can a little closer to the finish line. So.
And a lot with the exclusivity, I feel, will kind of bring in a lot more of those well-known creatives to the brand, and in that you're looking at their intellectual property differently than everybody else. So you're looking at that, and they may see that and be like, okay, well, let me just try it off here first.
We
and
actually
then
also
kick off over there.
We actually also look at certain creators and consider doing brand ambassadors. We have a couple of brand ambassadors. So these people are they're out there preaching the gospel of Fund My Comics, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So they're out there sharing the word every day. They crowdfund 2 or 3 books a year. They have large platforms. They play videos for Fund My Comic. They do our little bumper trailer on things, and they spread the word any and every way they can about what we're doing. Those people who are driving traffic, not only backers, contributors, but they're also driving other creators to the site. We call them brand ambassadors, and they have an opportunity to actually be able to crowdfund for as low as 0 to 1% platform fee. So we give people opportunities to step in to say, hey, how far do you want to step in with my comic? Right? How far do you want to go into this thing?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to be an ambassador, you can save a lot more money. You can put a lot more of your own money in your pocket from those backers. It's just going to require you to scratch my back, because we understand that what we're doing is we've got a bucket here. Fund My Comic is a bucket. Each one of us has a glass of water, which is our audience. If we all bring our audience over, pour it in, then that bucket's going to fill up pretty quick. And the more people we've got pouring into that bucket, the more buckets we're going to need.
Well, there's another metaphor a friend of mine at work told me recently, which I'd never heard it before until he said it, but it made sense. And it is one of those sayings that you only hear part of it and you never hear the full thing. And this one is, one hand washes the other, but both hands wash the face.
Right. I kind of like that. Yeah.
It's so simple. And you're like, oh, one hand washes the other. Like, hey, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. But guess what? Yeah. We're both washing the face. We're both getting our product in front of the people we want, and we're all getting better for it. We're all clean and hygienic.
Comics and games is 5 to 10% of the traffic that Pink and Green gets. 5 to 10%. So yeah, they've got traffic, but one of the problems about that traffic is only 5 to 10% of that traffic is looking for what you're doing. And of that, they've got so many campaigns, inactive campaigns, closed campaigns that show up on the Explorer before your stuff, your active stuff does. There's no one there that's actively trying to push the live campaigns or the funding campaigns like they used to, right? And so even though they have more traffic, they've got a very low, what I call a conversion rate, where if someone goes there for one campaign, they might hit another campaign and back it. We're running almost 20% conversion rate. So about 20%. So let's say if 10 people show up to the website and they want to back one project right now, at least 2 of them are going and looking at other projects and backing those 2. We've seen it happen today.
I mean, I'm looking at a whole bunch of them, and I've checked out at least like 3 or 4 during this podcast. So that logic checks out. But another thing that I was reminded of is one of my recent guests in our brother country up north of Canada, where the just shipping costs alone are astronomical from one province to another. Former guest Ryan Howard, he had a campaign that didn't reach its goal on Kickstarter. He's working on Badger, and he's actually he reached out to me on an opportunity that I'm actually gonna entertain. It's gonna be awesome. I'll announce it once I get the details fleshed out. But I'm looking at him, and just everybody goes to Kickstarter. They go to Indiegogo, but this is another option that for somebody, especially to where in Canada, where it's a lot harder for a small publisher to make something happen on a wide scale, a website like yours, like Fund My Comic, may actually help get them over that hump to where they need to be to get their project really rolling.
Yeah, well, the cool part is they don't need to raise as much money as we just talked about.
Mhm.
You know, you don't have to cover those fees as much. So you can actually have a lower goal. You can have a longer goal. 100% of the traffic comes to Fund My Comic. They're there to buy what you do.
Yeah.
They're there for what you make. Now it's just up to you to sell it to them, right?
Yeah.
It's you're not fighting. You're not trying. I think the hardest part about I've stopped kind of doing conventions because when I came back from my coma and started doing the conventions again, I had to ask a question that I didn't think I would have to ask at a comic convention. Do you like comic books? The number of people that say no is astounding. But I know if they say no, I don't need to try to sell them my book. They don't like comic books. They don't read them.
It's not for them.
They're wearing Batman because they saw the movie and they liked it.
Yeah.
Or they've ingested that material some other way than with comics, and I'm selling a comic. They're not going to buy it.
Also,
right?
with the conventions, there's a Comic-Con and there's an entertainment event.
Yeah, pop culture, yeah.
You'll have the entertainment event. They'll have actors, actresses, a lot of, vendors and a lot of fun stuff for the family. But a Comic-Con has comics.
Right. So instead of going to a Comic-Con, to go to an entertainment event, try to sell your comic book and wind up wasting money, pink or green, go to a comic convention, Fund My Comic, where everything there is centered and centric towards what you're doing. Yeah, the crowd might be smaller, but 100% of the people walking through that convention floor want what you have.
Yeah.
It's just up to you to sell it.
And that's what Ryan Hout was saying when he was saying a lot of the bigger cons, when you go to them, it's just people V-lining it for one person they want to see. And that's a lot like what you see on the Kickstarters and stuff like that. The Indiegogos, they're V-lining it for that one project they want. They're not looking around. Like some may look around, but they're not really. That's where your platform really has the option of like, well, all of these thumbnails look entertaining and engaging. I want to click on them all. You know what I mean? There's that forethought of these comic creators saying they're going to want to click this. I love this image that I did. I love how this turned out. That's the one. I put it there. And they know what people that they're shooting for most likely will want to engage and click on. So a lot of the logistics of that isn't really a problem. The artist will work the clickbaity, kind of thing about it out themselves.
Yeah, you need a very appealing image.
Mm-hmm. About getting people through the door. You expressed your forethought when you assembled this website and cultivating tools like the calculator that you guys are working on and the tutorial process. What do you guys offer as far as advice, even when it's personal interactions or through email or even when it's using the platform to tell these creators who come to Fund My Comic, how do you get people through the door? Because once you step outside the realm of Fund My Comic, which is an internet space, you are subject to the algorithmic expressions of social media, and people have to rely on third-party companies such as AdSense through Google or Facebook. What's the best advice that you would give creators that you've talked to either in the past or recently to get people to come into the door, whether it's just cold calling or?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things, and we put a lot of this in that tutorial page. We even break it down to SEO. So if you're looking for search engine optimization, there's a lot of things that you can put in your page that will help you get there. There's keywords that you can put in, being very descriptive, making sure that you're using language that will appeal to the emotion of the potential backer rather than just the intellect of them. You want to create some kind of an emotional pull while you're in there. So we talk about a lot of that. So that's some advice, but we do, so I do a podcast of my own called Nerd Bacon on Thursday mornings. And right now we're doing a whole series with this guy named Crom, who is a marketing guy. And so we're actually going to be doing a number of short form videos that we're putting on Fund My Comic that are going to help even with that. But understanding SEO, at least a little bit, understanding how to go to Google Trends and find out what people are searching so that you know what people are looking for. Understanding those things will help you. But getting out, I think one of the things we continue to say through our Discord, we actually have a Discord where people will go and chat. We try to encourage people to make sure you're getting into groups that aren't necessarily comic specific, but genre specific.
Okay.
Because one of the things we've learned is that people will hop mediums, but they won't necessarily hop genres. So if I'm into horror, I'm going to buy anything horror, comics included. If I like superheroes, I'll buy anything that's superhero related. It doesn't necessarily have to be comic books. So getting into those niche interest groups and making friends, growing that mailing list. It starts with making those kind of personal connections. You don't want every cold call that you do to be a sales call. I think Gary V calls it the jab, jab, jab hook method, where you give them something of content, something of value, something enjoyable, and then you give them a sales thing. You want to get in there and make friends, get connections with them. You want to get their email address, but you need to make sure that you're trading that email address with something of value, some kind of digital giveaway, something that people are going to find useful enough to want to give you their email address. And then
people are very, very secretive of their email address. I could say that just from my experience working in the automotive dealership industry. Like, hey, what's your email? Like your manager would tell you have to get their email. Get everyone's email. It's like,
why they say that, right?
85-year-old Ethel, and she's like, what's an email? And you're like, no@email.com. There you go, boss. I put it in there.
Every corporation on the planet understands the value of long-term communication. And so that's why places like Guitar Center will do these giveaways. You could win a Gibson Les Paul. Just put in your email for a chance to win, right? Because they know that giving away a Gibson Les Paul is not a big deal when you can trade it for 4,000 emails.
Oh yeah.
It is.
The digital data broker is a thing right now.
Because marketing,
you had a 20% conversion on those 4,000 emails. That's way more than that Gibson Les Paul.
Right. Way more. And that's what it comes down to. Conversion on email marketing is way higher than conversion on anything else. Viral marketing, TikTok. Dude, we've been going on TikTok for a while. TikTok sucks. Like it doesn't, people aren't there to, it's trolls. No one's there to actually support anything. They're just trolls. I think I go on and I accidentally transform into a troll. Like no one is there to do anything positive.
No. They're not. I mean, that's the thing about Facebook. Like your aunt and your mom are on there, so you're like, well, I got to be kind of like somewhat civil,
right? Yeah.
Unless you have a horrible home life, then you're just like,
I don't like any of the platforms, but I do prefer X because most of my marketing is I'm very successful through X.
Okay.
With that,
I haven't tiptoed into X or Twitter. It's not somewhere I've went. What have you found beneficial about it?
I understand their algorithm.
Okay.
So I am able to use that to the point to gain followers. I understand that gaining followers is like casting a net. That followers and engagement does not mean sales. But what I'm looking for is engagement on certain things because it's brand awareness. So what I'm trying to do is build brand awareness, and I'm finding that using some of the algorithms with hashtags and kind of the commenting, the ways you can comment and get around the different stuff, I find that it helps build brand awareness really well. So if I can get them to my YouTube, then I know that I can start to filter them down into a mailing list. From a mailing list, I can get them onto a customer list. And from that customer list, we can become best buds, Yeah. I say it's finding the girl that you want to dance with, right? Marketing is really kind of tricky that way.
Well, marketing and sales, because I sold cars for a while. And it's that kind of a dance that I'm picking up there. You have
it's the same thing. Yeah.
It's very subtle at times.
Well, I talk about like this, it's like when you decide what kind of girl you want to take home, like what kind of girl you want to, settle down with, what you do is you figure out where those kind of girls go. Now, the days of going out to the clubs and, being like the Night of the Roxbury guys, you, me, those guys, just trying to dance with anything that'll take you. That's fine. Right.
Yeah.
But eventually you need to figure out what your market, like what your target audience is. Who's the kind of girl I want to settle down with?
Mm-hmm.
Figure out where they go. What kind of places do you go to find those girls? And then, you start to ask people to dance. You get to know them. You ask them to dance. You don't ask them to go home with you and do the horizontal mambo that night. You don't do that.
Dude,
that's not the kind of girl you want.
Head. You just ripped that word out of my head. That's awesome.
That's not what you're doing. This is a courtship. We're talking a long-term relationship. We're talking kids and a mortgage with these people. You're looking for fans and readers that are going to be with you for the long haul. Yeah. So you need to invest in that relationship. So you need to take it slow.
You can't just hold my hand on the first date.
Take them out. Yeah. Take them out for ice cream. Yeah. Take them out for coffee later. Just get to know. Just build that friendship and relationship. Yeah. Get to know them, that back and forth, and then say, I know that you're interested in what I'm selling and what I make. Would you consider buying it? Or maybe, hey, here's my first issue for free of my comic book. Well, if you like it, maybe maybe we can go to the Poconos for the weekend. Stuff like that.
Okay, but why are you saying this on one knee?
Right.
I thought this is how you did it. I'm sorry.
Don't be that girl, Matt. Don't be that girl.
Oh, I will.
I always like using that analogy because people get it. They get the whole dating thing. It's like, I get what you're saying now. Trying to build a long-term relationship with a fan base is just that. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, each one of us, if we can find 300 to 500 people that are willing to buy everything that we make, we would never have to work a day job again in our lives.
Oh yeah,
that's all you need. That's all you need.
Wait
for 300 to 500.
100%.
I wait for what my wife's gonna say when I told her I've already cheated on her 40 times with all my backers.
Nothing, baby.
I know my couch is a couple states away, but it is open to you.
Appreciate that. I might be coming in hot.
I actually worked that analogy out with my wife. I was like, I have this analogy. Here's what I'm thinking. She goes, yeah, that works. My wife is brilliant. She's a big part of everything we do.
And that's a beautiful analogy to describe
it is
the relationship between comics people and their fans, because our audience, as far as comic creator goes, are specifically unique, not in just both a consumer perspective, but it is in terms of history and need. Because of if you study comic history, all the way back to when like newspapers started coming out, newspaper comics, and then that transformed into publishing, and then publishing turned into this huge thing, and then from the code authority and all that stuff.
Well, the first comic books were actually printed just as a way to keep the presses from the ink from drying up, because back then you had to keep them moving to keep the ink wet, or else it would crust over, right? So it was more cost effective just to print something, and so they thought, well, let's just take all of the funnies, all the comic strips that we have, and make a book out of it. And those became wildly popular. And then it got to be where like everyone's goal was to get into a syndicated paper. And if you couldn't get a syndicated paper, you would settle for being in a comic book. Yeah. Like that's, you can get your start there, And it's funny now
how there's always that start, because in the 90s it was like, oh, you could start on TV and then you may be able to make it into movies. Yeah. In England, it was, you could start in TV and movies, and then maybe you could make it to theater. There's always that, you start here.
And then it switches at some point, because now it's like movie stars are going on TV shows.
Yeah.
Because they like long-term work.
Hey,
You know?
I like being able to show up at a job every day. Turns out that's nice.
Yeah. So it's interesting. You know, and at some point, comic books became not the thing that people settled for, but it became the thing people wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, there's also that big streaming push now because there's a realization that there's already a huge catalog of content that all you have to do is ask, like, hey, do you want this to be made into live action? Do you want this to be made into a cartoon? You know, a podcast. What do you want? And people are like, yeah, all right, let's do it. You know, and there's a lot of push there, especially in novels. Novels and books have been getting a big push ever since, you know, I can remember. But recently it was a big push with the Game of Thrones and the George R. R. Martin, especially after Harry Potter and all that. A lot of people
fantasy
are
stuff,
books. You know, you look at even one of my favorite book adaptations, even though it was very far off, Magicians. Very, very good show. The book was even better. I mean, you walk into like a almost like Chronicles of Narnia world, except the air has opium in it.
Nice. Well,
I think I'll see that one.
So, speaking of market trends and like doing like Google Trend, like searching, finding out what people are searching for, people that search for comic books also search for superheroes, obviously really high. But the two highest genres searched with comic books was fantasy and Western.
Ooh. Okay. I don't know why I was surprised by Western. Because
it takes me back to Mike Barron's Brown Star book. It did so well.
Yeah.
So well. And I was shocked because Westerns are really niche. Like it's a niche genre.
People love Westerns now, but it also mixed into fantasy.
You look at you look at the two of those, and you look at one of the most successful franchises ever, Star Wars. Western, fantasy, in space.
Yeah. It's a sci-fi Western. If you think about The Mandalorian, it was a space Western.
Yeah.
That's all it was. Even the music sounded like a Western, like spaghetti Western.
It was
a bad.
They did that all on purpose. Purpose.
The behind the scenes. Same thing. Oh, the behind the scenes on The Mandalorian, especially season 1, how they go through like episode through episode. It was like so telling of all the effort they put into that. And you don't always get to see like those people. And he's like, well, you know, I got this African flute and, you know, I figured kind of sounds cool. And you're like, yeah, it did. It
sounded really
cool. It was awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
So armed with that information, guess what the next book I'm writing is? It's a fantasy with Western elements in it. Yeah.
Nice.
So it's going to mash the two together. Because that's what people want to read. And you know what? I think it'll be fun to write and draw.
Oh, 100%.
So, and that's what comic books are supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
Fun. So so I try to stay out of all the drama that, you know, indie comics people get their nose into.
Oh God, there's so much.
I just focus on making comics, staying out of all that crap.
Yeah.
And the people that I find, like, I hate using the word community with comics because it's an industry, it's a business, and businesses are cutthroat. But there is a community of fans around that industry. And there is a community of fans that have been developing around Fund My Comic that make it just the coolest place to be. These people love comic books. If you have like a boob cover, Fund My Comic's probably not the best place for you.
Yeah.
Because these people really aren't interested in
fan service is what they call it in anime.
Yeah, they're not really. They like a little bit, but they're not really into the into the nip slips and stuff.
Yeah,
it's not really their thing. Yeah. So I mean, some books do well as long as they market it well, but the average person going on there, they're just looking for really cool, exciting comics. You know, stories that intrigue them. And so if like you're really good at pitching your book, you've got a solid log line, good elevator pitch, and you're able to make that emotional draw, that turn in a short second to get people's attention, you're going to do really well over there because the people that are backing books on Fund My Comic are just diehard comic book lovers. I mean, these people love comic books maybe more than I do.
The amount the amount of indie comics that I've been able to see through this podcast alone, I'm very impressed with. Because I can tell you, especially after some recent work I've been doing, a lot of indie artists that I have seen have 100% the talent of any of the bigs out there. And especially, I'm calling out my favorite person to call out, Aleem Legit. Aleem is one of the most talented artists that I've seen, and especially in this local area of Delco in Pennsylvania. And when, especially with all throughout podcasting, I've seen so many talented people and doing works of art that I could not even dream of. Like, I can storyboard and, maybe thumb myself through a script. I'm not the artistically inclined like that. So I'm a fan of art. I'm a huge fan of it. So I see these people putting out those amazing works, and they're putting out great pieces of work. Even the artistic stuff that is not Captain America and stuff like that. It's very expressionistic, and there's that level of fine art that is bled into comics that is also its own kind of niche thing.
Yeah. So if we just look at the front page of Fund My Comic, if we think about some of the names, and some people might not know some of the names. So Mike Barron and Kelsey Shannon both work for Marvel and DC, right? These are industry pros doing their own book. Okay. The Shadow Kingdom. We've got, an indie publisher, been in it for almost as long as I've been alive. You've got Russ Leach, who is on the regular, like currently on the Doctor Who comic book.
Oh,
he
wow.
currently is drawing Batman. He's like currently working at the bigger companies. He's got the Shadow Kingdom on there right now. Silverline Comics, Roland Mann, who was Malibu Comics and was a big part of the early days of Image getting off the ground. His studio helped Image Studios get some of their stuff going, and he worked for Marvel. They were bought out by Marvel at some point, so he was a Marvel editor. He's got his own company, Silverline. That's up there.
My former instructor.
Yeah. All right.
No way. Awesome.
Yeah. And then Earthbound, we've got a Narwhal up there who's an animator who's animated for big studios, making his own comic book. My comics up there, I've never worked for the big two, but my stuff's pretty awesome too. I have to admit. Yeah, let me just.
You created this amazing platform of Fund My Comics. Of course, your comic was the first one out there, so people looked at your comic and be like, "Hey, can I get involved?" Like,
I actually hadn't had that many eyes on my campaign, because every time I talk about Fund My Comic, I'm talking about the platform and all of the other great stuff that's on there.
Yeah,
and I feel so guilty, just like, hey, buy my book, But so it's a little funny. So I did this. So I could make my comic book and be left hell alone. Mm-hmm. Since I've done this, people have seen my art and started hiring me to draw their books. So I've not been able to make my comic. Yeah. And everyone is so interested in what we've created here that I'm talking to people all the time. Mm-hmm. So I've not been left the hell alone either.
Oh,
so,
I get that, dude.
It's funny.
I started talking
ironic,
to Mike in early Tales of the Hunted podcast, and I told him about my idea of a comic I want to write and he named it, and it's a badass title. It's behind Elemental Worlds, The Experiment, and I really want to get to writing it, but through certain opportunities he himself has led me to, D&D podcasting, that apparently independent content creators want to be on a podcast. Who knew? So all these different ventures popping up. I get that.
Yeah. Like there is no shortage. It's like the one thing in America that people think food insecurity, like food shortage, is never not going to be an issue in America. Like people are there's always hungry people, right? Mm-hmm. So there's always indies that are hungry for a way to share what they're doing, to reach a new audience. So if a podcast started tomorrow that was brand new, that said, "Hey, we're going to interview indies, or we're going to review indie books," they would be inundated with people because we always need someone to help promote. It's an ongoing thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, here's another one. Chris Wozniak does Barren Soil. Wrote for DC. Wrote for Marvel. He's got a book on Fund My Comic right now.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, so just great stuff. Chris Hunter's got a book over there. He's done inking for some of the big guys.
Now,
Gary
I want to bring this back. I want to bring this back to the platform and back to where you needed a way to make money, and you're well off for it now. You can looking a year out. But is there a reason why you chose not to traditionally publish versus publishing it yourself through crowdfunding? Because as we have seen today, I don't know if you guys have been looking at social medias and stuff, but people trying to publish through the platform Webtoons has come out with some pretty draconian things that were released in their contracts that basically rob creators of their content rights, printing rights, and a lot of other stuff. And a lot of those contractual things are still, to this very day, are being argued about
right, so
in
there's
court
a few
cases.
things.
So
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that one.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm an artist first and foremost.
Right.
Writer second, I think, or maybe writer first, artist second. Who knows? But I've had the distinct pleasure of somehow meeting some of my heroes in the business, and people that didn't just work but are currently working in the industry. And so I see what's going on. Like, I knew before the news came out last year that there were smaller companies not paying artists. I knew it before we found out that, the contracts with Scout Comics was, that they were draconian and that people weren't getting paid and that there was, stock in warehouses just being sat on, not being sold. I knew that. I knew that before anyone said anything, because these guys who were afraid to say anything publicly will say a whole lot behind the scenes. And I really want to get paid. I like getting paid. I like that I can do work for somebody else, that those people pay me. I like that when I make my own book, I have 100% control. Yeah, it's stressful to have 100% control of everything and make sure everything gets done. But at the end of the day, the only one to blame for my success or failure is me. And I'd rather bet on me than bet on anybody else.
Yeah.
So that was one of the reasons why I did it. I'm a Gen Xer, so I'm an F the man kind of thing. I want to do it on my own. I've kind of got that DIY mentality.
Yeah.
When I played music, I was always on smaller labels, the street team kind of stuff, guerrilla marketing. That's what we did. That's what I love. I love that energy and that vibe. So I was drawn towards companies that did that. And I knew I wanted to do it for myself. And then ultimately, even though I have been told I might have the opportunity, like my ability wise, I could have drawn that comic that I really liked, that I wanted to draw growing up. I know that I'd never discriminate on someone's political, religious, or personal views. I don't care who or what is between someone's legs. I just care about the content of a person's character. And that makes it to where I have been friendly with people that other people in the industry don't think you should be friendly with. And because I've done that, I know that I will never work for a traditional publisher in my career. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I didn't want to begin with. Mm-hmm. And so someone telling me, a couple of years ago said, you'll never work with a traditional publisher. And I said, you think that hurts my feelings? It does not. It does not, sir. I like this because, if I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail on my own. If I'm going to succeed,
I get that.
I'm going to do it on my own. It's
God said, believe in me and believe in you, not believe in DC or believe in Marvel or believe in IDW. Yeah.
And
what a man can do with his hands is what a man will be judged for.
And I'll even bring it down to this podcast, because I didn't I didn't want to just have like another show, another thing. I had that before. I wanted this podcast network to be special. That's why we centered it around building people up, but also I wanted it to be able to evolve and change and expand. So when I'm looking at just my own core values and beliefs, I don't impose that onto anybody else. You know, there's that kind of thing to where you can have your own beliefs. You don't have to impose it in your company. And that's kind of what I see with you because, all right, hey, you can believe whatever you want over here. If you want to believe that Imagine Dragons are actually a band of dragons, I'm not going to stop you. I actually entertain that. I think that would be so much better to see them live. I mean, obviously, in an open outdoor venue with no trees around.
They provide their own pyros. I mean, come on.
You know, it would make it so much better. But
yeah,
it's having, all right, hey, man, here's your platform. You can step on my platform and talk about your comic. It is what it is. It's that person's freedom to express their idea. Do people have to fund it? No. I'm looking at, and this is the thing I like about your page. I'm scrolling, and you know, there's some that are in the green. There's some that are 0% funded.
Yeah.
Still on the front page. That's how you can tell it's not filtered by an algorithm.
In fact, so the front page is populated by tips. But I also go through and I'll have like some of my admins, like, hey, what's a campaign that you think needs some eyes? Deserves having eyes on it. And they're like, hey, this one. So we'll pop it up on the front page. And it may not have any backers, but you know, people are looking at it. They're getting it so they have a chance to get a backer.
Yeah.
So I will rotate, or my team will rotate in projects that we like, you know, that we think
that's big,
that are worth looking at, you know. For instance, the Nephilim Squadron, it's down there. I like the book. I like the creator. I think people should take a look at it. Doesn't have any backers yet.
Ninja Jesus Saga, Codex #1.
Yeah, looks great.
First off, yes. Ninja Jesus. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're taking all my money. I wanted
the art is ridiculous.
I can't. Ninja Jesus is now getting all my money. I'm sorry.
The Ninja Jesus Saga, there's a book where Ninja Jesus is fighting Santa Claus.
I love that.
I love it.
Ninja Jesus fighting Santa Claus? Absolutely.
Yeah. Their Christmas cover variant. It's great.
I need it in my life now.
Thank
you for spending all of my next 5 paychecks.
You know, but it's one of those things where there's just so, you know, there's so many good things on there that it's hard to choose from, but
I'll have to put.
You know, we've had Irene Strakowski, you know, Marvel artist, that funded a book on here. She's the highest funded at like 35,000.
Wow.
So far, I'm expecting that this year we'll have our first 6-figure campaign.
Oh, dude,
we have several that have broken 5 figures. And
all I got to do is tell Carissa Grant about this, and you'll get that 6-figure. Carissa Grant. Oh man, the Girl Scout of indie comics. I'm telling you.
I'm buying the first. I haven't even announced this yet. This is exclusive news right here.
Love breaking.
I'm buying the first 6-figure campaign. Creator a steak dinner.
That's.
I may not go out to them to buy it, but I'm gonna send them.
It'll be DoorDash.
I'm gonna DoorDash him. I'm gonna give him a Ruth Chris.
Yeah. Some nice steak.
Gift certificate or something.
There you go.
Go out. Or I'll get him a Brazilian steakhouse gift certificate or something, man.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Say, here you go. It's like, congratulations for being #1.
There you go.
The first one to get there.
Maybe I'm like delivered in like a gold envelope. I don't know, because it's a 6-figure campaign. I mean,
a 6-figure campaign.
Here's a gift card to the Brazilian steakhouse of your choice. I mean, you know, it's a nice thought. It's a steakhouse. You know, it's a nice.
Go
dinner.
eat all the meat you want. You know, that's my favorite place to eat. Right, is like the Brazilian steakhouse, because it's like an all-you-can-eat buffet, but it's all meat. It's only meat. Like they just bring you meat until you flip that card to red. Mm-hmm. They will not stop bringing you meat.
Is that the one where they walk around those huge hunks
with a skewer? Yeah,
yeah. They just
cut you off a piece.
Right? Oh Oh man, they have one in Baton Rouge.
It's the best
All
thing in
right.
the world.
I rescind my statement. That's actually an adequate gift. Then it's an all
Yeah,
you
it
can
is.
eat meat.
It's about $60 a person. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Worth it though.
Get it.
It is,
Fun
yeah.
my. Don't just do it for the gift card. Okay. It's good.
just don't do it just for the
Do
steak,
it because you love it, but just know you might get some steak out of it. You know?
Do it for Ninja Jesus.
And Ninja Jesus. Do it for Ninja Jesus may be the title of the podcast. I don't know. We'll see.
Do it for Ninja Jesus. Come on, guys, do it for Ninja Jesus.
Ninja Jesus.
As soon as I get Frank Percy to put up the Caribe fund me on Fund My Comic, at the end it'll say, "Come on, guys, do it for Ninja Jesus," and then the link to the podcast.
We're so getting coal in our stockings this year. Santa Claus.
I'll be able to heat my house. It's fine. I'll be as bad as I want to. Who knows? I mean, Santa Claus is still being nice. I mean, you get cold, you don't get a toy, but you can heat your house.
Man, it's comic books.
Don't burn the comic books. Good lord.
Like what? I mean, but like, where else are you going to find Ninja Jesus? Someone dreamt that up and made a comic book about it, and it looks great.
I don't know. If you give it a little bit, you may find it in a video game somewhere. There is literally a first-person video game. It's an RPG where you play. It's called I Am Jesus Christ. I'm pretty sure I remember the title right. But yeah, it's like a first-person RPG where you have miracles. You walk around as Jesus.
Okay.
They don't crowdfund that. I mean, I'm sure you could mod it to where he could be a ninja. It'd probably be a better game. But then you're just a ninja named Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know. Being Jesus is pretty awesome. I think.
Jesus simulator.
A very effective ninja too, because he can walk on water.
Right. He can literally like teleport through walls.
Fuck your moat.
He's omnipresent.
Yeah.
And he's omniscient.
Yeah.
Like he knows your move before you're going to make it.
Just ask Dad for help. Yeah. What's he doing?
Yeah, Santa Claus stands no chance.
No. What does Santa have? He has elves. Get out of here. Get your elves. He's kicking
Jesus
those
has
elves
an army
away.
of angels.
Those angels are picking up those elves and dropping them from 1,000 feet.
Oh my God! What an epic cover that would be! Santa and an army of elves with reindeer, and then Jesus on the left side with an army of archangels. Oh, what an awesome double cover wrap!
That would be a fucking that would be badass.
That would be holy.
That would be
holy edition.
That would be holy chaos, wouldn't it?
Send our idea to your wonderful creator.
Oh my God! As a variant, at least a variant cover. Like, come on, that's gold. That's gold. I mean, you don't have to add the archangels picking up the elves and dropping them from 1,000 feet, but I think it would really hit. Pun intended.
Be funny.
Yeah. There's just like Hindu gods in this comic book, and one of them was like, "It's urgent," and the elephant guy with the multiple arms, the pink dude, he's walking there. He's like, "We must speak with Jesus Christ." Like. And the lady and the angel's like giant standing there, and they're like, "Sorry, you just missed him. Jesus is out."
He left the building. I'm so sorry, but Jesus has left the building.
Oh my gosh!
He had someone to assassinate. I'm sorry, I wasn't supposed to tell you that. Damn it! He's gonna fire me. Jesus is always telling me, "Don't tell people I'm out on an assassination." Are you hiring? Man, this has been a fucking hell of a podcast. I didn't know I'm now going to have to spend the rest of my night reaching out to people and telling them they need to go to fundmycomics.com, fundmycomic.com, and get their indie comic out there, because you're looking out for them. It's literally a non-algorithmic, non-biased site that people can literally go to and find their next favorite thing in the comic world. And I think you're doing the Lord's work. You're putting in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it, but it really shows. And I think a lot of indie content creators will be, really thanking you in the end of the day when they get on to the Heroic Awards and they say, I'm here because of Fund My Comic. And they help push me to be here. And because Matt Man had him on the podcast, it was such an amazing show.
We do have a sister site that we've just launched. We don't have any campaigns up there yet, but it's called Fundiverse for all those content creators that do everything other than comics and games. So we are doing a special. The first 25 campaigns to launch over there get a 0% platform fee.
Ooh.
Awesome.
That's
very to help populate the website. Yeah. So it's kind of like what we did with the beginning of Fund My Comic. Like the first 2 handfuls everybody gets on for free, because you got to populate it, and so we're trying to populate that site, let people know about it. But it runs off the exact same engine as Fund My Comic, just branded differently. And you can go to fundmycomics.com because so many people said that. I went ahead and registered that URL and redirected it as well.
That's so smart. That's great.
I knew somebody else would try to buy it and take my traffic, and I'm like, screw that. You're not getting one over on me.
Oh, that's so smart. That's so fucking smart, man. That's great. Oh, but I want everybody to go to fundmycomic.com or Fund My Comics, because you're going to come to the same great place where you can help fund the next great indie comic legend that will be the next biggest thing in the industry. So thank you so much for being on. I'll let you know when I put it out, because everybody needs to know they need to go out here and get their next comic from fundmycomics.com. And anytime you have anything else to promote, your own comic, you got your own campaign going off, you got a podcast platform to come on anytime you need.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and thanks for reaching out. Sorry I was a little bit late. I was having a little trouble with Discord.
You made it through. You made it through the Discord gauntlet there. So we're a couple past guests. I just said, screw it. We'll go to a Facebook chat, but we made it through back onto Discord, and it turned out great. It's been an amazing, informative podcast. And dude, I mean, we're definitely gonna have you on again, at least even just for a refresher for all these people who are going to be seeing Projangers and Walljangers at the Heroic Awards, thanks to Mike. And
thanks for helping me spread the word on this, guys.
Absolutely, man. I'm not going to stop talking about you. Just like all my guests that I've name dropped in this episode, you're going to be the first one I name dropped to all my indie comic content guests.
You guys come to the platform over there, you get 1%. Okay.
Goddamn, dude.
You got you covered, man.
As soon as I write my shit, I'm going to put it right over there.
Yeah.
Feel free to let any of your people know on Fund My Comic that if they need a platform to talk on, Projangers and Walljangers and comics and Pop-Tarts got your back.
Why don't you send me like an email link that they can message?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so what I do is so I've got a couple of links where they can contact people once their campaign is approved to try to promote.
Nice.
And so I can put your link in there so they can just contact you. Okay.
100%, man. We'd love that.
All right, appreciate it.
Guys, I love to end off this podcast the same way, because we love you, we miss you, we want to see you next time. Walljangers, until then, game on, boys and girls. Bye-bye.
Play on my channel.
Earning your end credits, buddy. Earning your end credits. Hero
and
time.
So what do? You like edit this down and...
Yeah. I'll pop into DaVinci Resolve. I'll obviously be adding in. I'll probably just I use Streamlabs OBS to capture video. So I'll probably scroll through your website, add in some of the video there into the video to podcast to help liven it up, especially highlight some of these amazing campaigns on there. And I like I mentioned before, Mike got me involved in doing the graphic reels for the Heroic Awards. So all the categories of best color, best line art, all the nominees are going to be created by the video that I do.
Very cool.
Literally after I get done this. So there's that kind of heavy weight because I got to have everything done like soon.
Yeah.
So
I understand.
I'm really focused on that. But after that, I usually try to have my podcast out within like a week or a week and a half. But this is a special case, so I wanted to fit you in because I knew it was going to be an amazing podcast because I just briefly looked at your site and I was like, nope, I got it. Nope, he's in.
What I tell you, we had to talk to Luke, man. We had to talk to him.
I trust my podcast partners like Mike. I brought him in and we acquired his company because I knew through podcasting with him, through a decade of podcasting, you pick up things, especially on how to read people who have passion about what they're doing. He already has his own comic. He's in D&D with me already. He's stepped in for Frank on podcast interviews multiple times by now. So, of course, he was only the logical choice. And then he brings in a way to help step up the company and not just put us in front of different people. So I have had a lot of people like Mike come to me and help push me forward and build me up. So it's people like you and, Jason and Ryan Howitt, you guys you're like a golden quest beacon in a video game.
Rising tide, man.
Obviously, I have to talk to this person. There's a giant glowing exclamation point above his head. He has a quest for me.
I'm a quest giver.
You have that kind of. You're not just the NPC. You're the NPC that gives me the quest. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I have to do now. There's certain people like that where when I was talking to Jason yesterday, he said over talent, there are two things that he looks up for when he's hiring for his cast. And the first one is passion. The second one is positive attitude. And that's what I see with a lot of the successful indie content creators that I have on this podcast is that they all have those three boxes check marked. And I think you'll find that about a lot of successful people just in general.
Yeah.
It takes an immeasurable amount of mental fortitude to stay positive in indie comics because of the financial stress, the constant production hiccups, the communication between team, the drama. Mm-hmm. So many things happened during the creation of Wild Oni issue number 1 that it really stymied the creation for the rest of the series. So I've had to take a step back to do more outlining to make sure that the story was right. And now I'm just looking for those key people because I've noticed that about indie comics, like those key people really make your book shine.
Yeah.
And so like the right artist, especially like the process, like if I wanted to go traditional where it's like we're inking and then we're like shading or we're line arts and then we're inking and then we're like and then colors, or are we just doing straight digital and we're going into like digital paint and then like the lighting for that is obviously different than it would be if you had someone on actual pencils where lighting comes in more natural, so it's done at a different stage. All that stuff plays into like going in to make a comic. So when you come to this part of the stage where it's like, okay, I got the thing, or I almost have the thing. Now, how do I get to the next level? And so it's a bunch of people running it's a bunch of people running in the same direction. And then we just like look to our lefts and right. And we realize that we're not alone. But in the process, it's so isolating that you feel alone. So it takes an immeasurable amount of mental fortitude to stay positive, and it's really hard. Like all today, I told Matt earlier, I was like I was in a self-deprecating bubble of self-pity all today, and I'm adjusting to this new medicine that I'm on, and so it's like as soon as like 4:30, 5 o'clock rolled around, getting up to the podcast stuff, like my energy started like raising, and all of a sudden I turned into like the ultimate warrior, and you gotta just like amp yourself up, and it's really hard for individual people to do that, and that was my whole mission when I started the podcast.
This is an 8x10 room, with a light blocking curtain, so that I can stream, and it's dark all day in here, and this is where I spend 10-12 hours a day, sometimes more.
I turn the light on for the podcast, but generally this house is dark. My brother has migraines all the time, like at least 2 sets. So I'm generally in that dark kind of. It's easy, especially being a creative person. It's very easy to
I eat so much of this.
Oh man, it takes way too long. It takes way too long. That's 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
3 minutes for the bowls. I go with the bowls because they're 3 minutes. Done.
Yeah.
I'm out of there. I got a whole extra minute than you, man. I saw them because I was like, damn, that looks good. But I was like,
it tastes so good.
4 minutes though.
Tuna and crackers all day, bro.
That and coffee. That and coffee.
Can't do that.
But
that's all I drink: coffee and then eat ramen. That's it.
It's very
and I wonder why I'm fat and out of shape.
It's very isolating. I'm a parts guy at a body shop, so I've recently gotten in shape. So but I know just from podcasting, I have to sit in this chair and I have to edit. Like, especially when I did the D&D podcast, that was a day. That was 8 hours of editing. Solid.
I was a GM for Advanced Auto Parts before I went into ministry, vocational ministry. I was ASE certified parts specialist.
Okay.
And youngest district manager in state of Indiana.
Nice.
At that time, I was the guy that was the fixer. They would send me to a store to keep it from closing. I was the last ditch effort. And so we would I was good at it. So I have a lot of entrepreneurial business mind. People don't know that about me, so when I'm starting this company, like, what do you know about running a company? I'm like, a lot more than you realize, but
yeah.
And then just sit back. It'll be fun. Just
watch me work.
There's a little bit of that in the indie scene though, because they don't know who you are. Like, who are you? And you have to prove that. Well, this is me. Oh.
Somebody said, why you? Like, what? Like, what makes you so special to start this website? I said, because I'm not afraid. I said, you would have started it if you weren't afraid. Like, it's like you could lose everything by doing this. I go, yeah, I could. So,
I've had that. I've kind of had the opposite thought there, because I've had that question of like, why do I have to step up? Why do I have to do it? Why do I have to?
He's got the why me. Yeah, why me?
Yeah, why me? Why I had that. I had that in me so long. Like, why am I? Why do I have to? Why am I the only person that sees this? Why am I the only person? It's the wrong kind of line of thinking.
Yeah.
And that
why not me?
Yeah, exactly. Why? That's the switch you have to flip over to. Like, why not?
And that's what I followed him up with. I said, well, first off, it's because I'm not afraid. But why not me? Why not you? Why not anybody else? We've been saying that we needed our own platform that was geared more towards what we do. And here it is.
At the perfect time, the perfect place. It gives me hope, especially for all the people that I have on the podcast. Because even as new as I am into comics and all this, I realize that it is a huge uphill struggle for an independent content creator in any fashion to gain any kind of traction or foothold. And that this platform you're offering them is huge. I mean, we spoke to Richard at the of the Heroic Awards saying that, the winners of these awards, they get the option to talk to Diamond. They get the opportunity to sit down and talk with a major publisher. I would put on the same level as that, because you're giving them an honest footing to put themselves in front of everybody and say, hey, I'd like your support because this is my idea. It's not overthrown by any kind of algorithm or AI overlord. It's just smart business sense looking out for the little guy. And it's what we need in the time of today.
Yeah, we'll never not need that. I don't think.
The world...
And it's a platform that lets people be 100% accountable for them.
I forget which comic I'm ripping this line from, but the world will never not need heroes.
Yeah. I remember that.
It's
stuff.
It's perfectly put, because that's what it is. You're the hero in somebody else's story, and I'm betting a lot of other people's stories by now.
I'm also the villain in a few.
Hey, people love the Joker. I'm just saying.
Somebody's got to do it.
Devil's advocate is needed.
Why not me?
Why not me, indeed? Damn it, that's the perfect way to end it.
Who says I can't be a good villain? I can try. All right, guys, I gotta go. It's I'm a little late for dinner.
All right, guys.
All right, we'll see you later.
We're hanging out with
Later, man.
I had a good time, guys. See you.
Me too. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Play on Bajangers.